Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dive into one of the more astonishing recent operations in the Ukraine-Russia war, the reported destruction of Russian assets valued at $7 billion in Severnaya Bay by a swarm of 193 Ukrainian drones, and what happened next. This is a moment that reveals much about the evolving nature of drone warfare, escalation risks, strategic messaging, and how both sides are adjusting. First, let's set the stage. Reports claim that Ukraine launched nearly 193 drones in a coordinated strike on Severnaya Bay, targeting key Russian naval infrastructure and possibly high-value assets. The claimed damage $7 billion worth is jaw-dropping. Whether that full figure is accurate is difficult to independently verify, especially in wartime when both sides exaggerate successes and downplay losses. But even if the real number is smaller, the scale, daring, and implications are significant. Let's examine how such an operation could even be possible. Ukraine has invested heavily in unmanned systems, particularly low-cost, small drones including FPV first-person view drones that can evade detection or saturate defenses. These drones can be smuggled, disguised, or launched covertly. In prior operations, Ukraine has shown the ability to infiltrate behind Russian lines using trucks or disguised launch platforms to reach deep targets. Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb, for instance, struck Russian airbases in 5 regions, reportedly damaging or destroying dozens of strategic bombers. Wikipedia, one that demonstrated the potential reach and audacity of Ukraine's drone campaign. So imagine scaling that to a naval facility like Severnaya Bay, a complex target with hardened structures, shipyards, docked vessels, support infrastructure, fuel stores, repair facilities. If drones breached outer defenses, found weak points, fuel lines, munitions storage, radar, critical machinery, and struck simultaneously, the damage could cascade. Fires, chain reactions, secondary explosions, the classic "you hit X, then Y goes boom" effect could magnify a modest initial strike into massive losses, but the aftermath is where things get really interesting. Immediately following such an attack, the Russian side would likely initiate investigations, damage assessments, repairs, and security overhauls. They would try to portray resilience to their domestic audience and allies, perhaps minimizing the visible damage or claiming interception success. At the same time, Russia might increase electronic warfare, drone countermeasures, air defenses, and surveillance to prevent repeat attacks. They may also retaliate militarily with missile strikes or through escalation of drone assaults back into Ukraine. One possible reaction is the intensification of suppression of drone paths, jamming communications, radar, deploying anti-drone systems, deploying more patrols or surface defenses around vulnerable ports. Russia might also shift more of its naval operations to less exposed bases, or reinforce existing ones with additional shielding, redundancy, or surveillance layers. They could adopt deception, decoys, false hulls, fake radar signatures to mislead UAV targeting. Another consequence is psychological and strategic messaging. For Ukraine, such a dramatic operation is a demonstration of capability, even if not every claim is fully accurate, that says, "We can reach you, you're vulnerable, your you assets are not safe." That erodes deterrence and may impose caution on Russian naval commanders. For Russia, failing to prevent such a strike would damage prestige, raise questions within the military, and could force leadership to reallocate resources to defense of rear and maritime zones. On the military doctrine side, this kind of operation underscores the shift toward asymmetric tools. It shows that even forces with limited air or naval parity can deliver strategic blows using cheap drones when employed cleverly in numbers and with well-timed coordination. The cost-benefit becomes favorable. A $1,000 drone knocking out a $100 million asset is a huge multiplier. This is exactly what analysts have highlighted as transformative in modern warfare: cheap, swarming, hard-to-detect UAV changing the calculus of defense. PBS2 now, skeptics will point to possible exaggeration, overclaims, propaganda, exaggerating numbers, or overstating value, and that's valid. Every side in a conflict has incentives to inflate success. It's also possible that some portions of damage are superficial, repairable, or already contained. Verification via satellite imagery, open-source intelligence, and ground recon would be required to confirm the real toll. But even if the actual destruction was a fraction of the claim, the symbolic and tactical effect matters. Russians must take it seriously, adjust strategies, tighten defenses, and possibly disperse key assets. Ukraine gains momentum, morale, and a platform to pressure Russia diplomatically and militarily. Also worth considering is escalation risk. Russia might feel compelled to strike back harder in kinds of retaliation that go beyond proportionality. A bold drone strike like this could provoke missile attacks, bombardment of Ukrainian infrastructure, or ramped-up cyber and electronic warfare operations. So Ukraine must balance boldness with the possibility of triggering escalation. Another dimension: supply chains, maintenance, and repair. Russia, to mend damage worth billions, would need materials, time, logistics. Some facilities might be lost for weeks or months. That degrades readiness. Meanwhile, Ukrainian engineers can analyze the strike, learn from vulnerabilities exploited, and refine future drone tactics. From the public perception angle, such operations also influence international opinion, defense support, and alliances. Ukraine can argue that drone tech is a force equalizer, urging further military aid from partners. They can show that their defense is not static, that innovation can change outcomes. For donors, backing Ukraine's drone development looks like investing in asymmetric leverage. In the months following, we might see increased drone encounters around Russian maritime zones, more aggressive patrols, decoy tactics, and layered defenses. We could see Russia dispersing fleets, hiding vessels in fjords, deep ports, or camouflaged hangars. We might see more investment in anti-UAV systems, lasers, interceptors, nets, gliders, catching drones over naval artillery. Russia may also retaliate on logistics nodes in Ukraine ports, supply lines, coastal infrastructure. Another outcome is change in naval doctrine. Russia might limit port deployment, keep ships at sea or in safer harbors, avoid centralizing assets where they are vulnerable, or reduce the exposure of valuable assets until confidence in counter-drone defenses is restored. For Ukraine, the success will inform future targeting, focusing on choke points, fuel reserves, repair yards, radars, communications. The drone swarm method may expand beyond naval targets into strategic energy, command nodes, supply dumps, command centers, even deep into Russian logistics zones. In conclusion, the striking claim of 193 Ukrainian drones destroying $5.7 billion worth of Russian assets in Severnaya Bay, whether fully accurate or partially inflated, represents a watershed moment in drone warfare. It highlights how asymmetry, creativity, saturation tactics, and operational boldness can shift power balances. The reaction from Russia will test its capacity to adapt, defend, and retaliate. And for Ukraine, it's a signal that they intend to carry the fight deep into contested zones, not just along front lines. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, please like, share, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think will happen next in this drone war.